Savannah from the Traveler's Course, and I'm working on a blog post for our Hey Hey Jueves, which is the day in which we talk a little bit about conversations that might come up in a Spanish-speaking country. And it's going to be posted here on the Traveler's Log, which is thetravelerscourse.com/blog. And Fridays we do vocabulario y verbos viernes, so a little bit about vocab, a little bit about grammar, the verbos. But let's get started today with the topic at hand, which is how to respond to somebody that you don't understand in Spanish. This is something that every traveler going to a Spanish-speaking country should know, no matter what your language skill level is. I have been studying Spanish for a very long time and still find myself in situations where I need to get someone to repeat something for me. It happens even in English, so these are important little concepts. Now, of course, we have a couple of other things that we need to address, such as formality. And the Traveler's Course currently takes most adult students to Spain. So in Spain, the formal register is used much less frequently than it is in Latin America, though it is still used. We certainly want to use it with people in situations of authority, police officers, for example, and also with people, the elderly, senior citizens, or someone who is much older than you. Someone who appears to be about your same age as a stranger, you can still pretty safely address in the informal form. So we have for the formal, usted is the you formal, ustedes, the you plural formal. And we have tú, which is the you informal, and vosotros, which is the you plural informal, the you all, the y'all, the yous guys, if you will. So, couple of different phrases we can use in a couple different registers. First of all, we have no le entendí. ¿Puede repetir, por favor? No le entendí. Here we're using the usted form. It's formal. And this is entender, the verb to understand, in the past tense. So really what we're literally saying here is I didn't understand you. Didn't understand you, formal. And puede repetir, por favor, we're using a very formal, polite way of asking somebody to repeat. Puede repetir, por favor. Can you please repeat? I didn't understand you. Can you please repeat? No le entendí. Puede repetir, por favor. We also have perdón. It's a much quicker, easier way to respond. This can be formal or it can be informal. It's also what you use if you bump into somebody on the train or something. You would say, perdón. Perdón means kind of sorry. Many students learn lo siento, but lo siento is a much more heartfelt sorry. So perdón is a more sort of off-the-cuff, informal sorry, and it can be used to quickly respond to somebody if you need them to repeat. Perdón, just like we do in English, sorry. But it's slightly less formal than this previous no le entendí, puede repetir por favor, but can also be used in more formal situations. Then we have como. Como, we learn means how, but in this case we're using it sort of as what. It's not super impolite, like sometimes we think of as what in English. If someone says something that we don't understand in English and we say what, that can be kind of impolite. Como is not quite that impolite. Of course, it depends on your inflection. You don't want to come off as short and rude, but if you say como, people typically repeat what they've said. So that's a good one to use with friends. If you're traveling with the Traveler's Course, we do homestays. Right? It's for adults, so we're not talking about kids' homestays, but adults staying with adult families or with families in general in Spain. So this would be a good thing to use with your host family. Como. Then we have no te entendí. This is the informal version of the no le entendí. Here we have le, that's for usted. Here we have te for two. No te entendí. And then sometimes, even now, these days, when I'm talking to my friends and we speak Spanish together all the time, our conversations are always in Spanish, but I somehow don't understand something, and they don't understand that I haven't understood. So I have to explain myself. And so then I can say, oh no, ¿qué has dicho? Es que no te entendí. ¿Qué has dicho? What have you said? And then here we have es que no te entendí. It's that I didn't understand you. So you have that no te entendí, the same phrase here. This is a little bit more of an explanation. When you repeat what you said is I didn't understand you. No? ¿Qué has dicho? Es que no te entendí. Now, a couple of things to remember. Speaking of es que literally means it's that. And this is a phrase that in Spain is used very commonly, especially among slightly younger middle-aged people. And it's just kind of a phrase that begins sentences. It sometimes has meaning as giving an explanation, and sometimes it doesn't really have any meaning at all. Es que. These are the kinds of phrases that are very typical in Spanish, but also very typically confuse Spanish learners because they don't really mean anything, and we get caught trying to figure out what it is that they mean when we should be paying attention to the rest of the sentence. So when you hear es que, just know that it probably means it's that. It may not mean much of anything. The same goes with bueno. Bueno, we know typically means good. Sometimes it can mean well, and sometimes it can mean Sometimes it's just a filler. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything at all. So don't get caught up trying to translate es que and bueno. Listen to the rest of the sentence, what's going on. And if it means anything contextually, you'll be able to figure that out. If it doesn't, that's typical. That's normal in Spanish speech. Right? So here we have, just in review, some formal responses. No le entendí. Puede repetir, por favor. Slightly less formal, but still polite. Perdón. Como, used with anybody that you might use the to form with. And no te entendí, also informal. And then if you need a little bit more explanation, you say, ¿Qué has dicho? Es que no te entendí. Right? Thanks so much for tuning in today. Come back tomorrow. We'll be doing vocabulario y verbos. A little bit more on the grammatical side of things, a little bit more technical, a little bit less conversational. Come back next Thursday for another conversation. And hey, if you're curious about what we do at the Traveler's Course, come on over to thetravelerscourse.com. You can look a little bit about the trip, what we do, the tutoring that happens on our trips, homestays, what else you can expect on a trip to Spain with the Traveler's Course. Hope to see you there this summer, offering discounts still for our July travel, so get on over before the January 31st, and you can get especially good pricing. We'll see you next week.